Well, first of all, thank you, everyone. We have a very, very distinguished guest today. Very happy to talk about how to create your own space in the world, especially when you're from a marginalized group. I'm just going to start with a bit of housekeeping today, where we just have a few things that I want to talk to you about. So let me go to the next slide. Let me know if you can see the next slide, and then I'll continue. Perfect. So I will activate the captions in a second, where you can follow what we're saying in the subtitles just at the bottom of your screen. And then on that side, you also see a link to Otter, where you can just read the transcript and go back to it later as well. I'll be tweeting during this session using the hashtag PressPad Remote, and feel free to send your questions using the hashtag just to share your experience of the masterclass. And also, if you want to ask any questions, in the same box, I'll be putting the Otter link. You can just ask your questions now or later, because we have a bit of time at the end for the questions. So we've got Izzy Silvers. So you're the branded content editor at Hearts UK, and also a freelance writer and Mixed Messages newsletter founder, which is something you will be spending a bit more time on, if I understand well, very, very soon. So welcome, and we're very, very happy to have you with us today. All your social media and details are at the very end, so everyone just stay with us so that you can get that. I also have to say that we're recording this session because it'll be available on YouTube later, and we are live on Facebook. So if you ever drop out and you can't get back in, we will be you can always access it through Facebook. And finally, I've been talking for a couple of minutes already, but I'm Camille. I'm the head of content and programs at PressPad. And I will just be in the background so that if you've got any questions or any problems, you can just ask me directly. And that's it from me. Izzy, over to you, and I'll just let you share your screen. So it might just take everyone, be patient, might take a couple of minutes before everything just goes smoothly.
Let's do this. You would think after over a year and a half that we would have nailed this by now. Does that look good?
It does. It looks perfect.
Perfect. So hello everyone, my name is Isabella Silvers, but only my mother calls me Isabella if I've been really, really bad. So please call me Izzy. I am branded content editor at Hearst UK. So I work on commercial content across titles like Cosmo, Elle, Good Housekeeping, Men's Health, Women's Health, Delish, as Runner's World, as many titles as you can think of. And alongside that, I work on our company's diversity steering group, and also a key player in Hearst Heritage, which is our Black, Asian and minority ethnic community network that we have at Hearst. I'm also a freelance writer, so I've written for the likes of Metro, and also, Cosmo and Delish. I still have to pitch like everyone else, which is something that we're going to be going on to. And I run a weekly newsletter. It's called Mixed Messages, and it's all about mixed race identity. And that is something that, fingers crossed, is going to be becoming a book in the next 2 years. That's the plan. So that is me. And as the title of this session suggests, I'm going to be talking about issues and kind of hurdles that you might face if you come from a marginalized background and you're trying to break into media. So I myself am half Indian. Therefore, a lot of what I say kind of focuses on race because that's the key thing that I'm thinking about. But I think this is applicable no matter what your background is, whether it's if you're maybe from the queer community, maybe if you're disabled. I think a lot of what I say can transfer over to other types of marginalized identities too. As well as talking about what the problems might be, we're going to talk about what the solutions are. And then I'm also going to talk a little bit about mixed messages and how it came to be. So the first thing to talk about is, what might the hurdles be when we are thinking about coming from a marginalized background and trying to break into media? There we are underrepresented in media, whether you look at the UK or the London stats, depending on which one you look at. But we are underrepresented, and by the very fact that we're underrepresented, that might mean that we have less connections. So many of you might know someone who works at a magazine because their uncle worked there, or because their mum's best friend works in the media. That's all fine. Of course, if you have connections, use and abuse them. But people might not have those connections. Then there's also racism and prejudice. That is something that people might face when they go into media. People might hear microaggressions or loaded comments, something that doesn't make you feel comfortable in the role and doesn't really show that newspaper, magazine, website, whatever it may be, really wants you to work there. And that's a really difficult thing to deal with. You may also face the problem of cultural fit, and I put that in speech marks. For a long time, media organizations have run a particular way, and they have hired a particular person. And it's been proven in studies that you will kind of hire someone who's similar to you in a way. So if you think about the people in media at the moment, who are they going to hire? Probably not someone from a marginalized background. And it can be kind of difficult to make them break out of that mindset. See it, be it. Again, if you don't see it, do you think you can be it? I think representation is so important, and we need to see incredible people of color, who are queer, who are disabled, who are plus size in amazing positions in the media, having their voices heard, so that people, marginalized people who are aspiring to get into media see it and think, yes, I can do that. There can also be a lack of progression. There's a lot of entry-level schemes, particularly for Black, Asian, and minority ethnic candidates going into media. But what happens after that? Where do you go once you've got into the building? Is there anywhere for you to go? Can you make it to middle and more senior management? That's another issue that you have to face. Time. It takes a lot of time to apply for applications, and it's something that can be quite tiring. And also not knowing how to apply or where to look for jobs. That's another thing that's kind of linked to not having connections in the industry. And I have a few ideas on how and where you can look for these jobs. And also, I should have mentioned PressPad earlier. I have a link that's on Graduate Fashion Foundation and a Google Doc of loads and loads of different websites and places you can go to look for jobs that I would be more than happy to send out to everyone who's watching this talk. So those are some of the hurdles that you can face. Maybe I can move on to the next slide. Maybe I can't. Maybe I can. Maybe yes. I can. So there are hurdles, but there are hurdles for everyone, and there are definitely ways to overcome them and break into the industry and move on up as well. So my top tips are, as you can see on screen, and I'm going to talk a little bit about each of them. So my number one most important tip is find your tribe. And by that, I mean, find people who might be in a similar position to you, who might share your values, who might have experienced what you've experienced, and build your network with those people. So I mentioned that I'm a part of Hearst Heritage at Hearst, and there are so many incredible women in Hearst Heritage, and men as well, but just particularly in my case, women, who I have been lucky enough to meet, and they have been outside my immediate team. And because of that, it's been really valuable to me to kind of build up a profile within my company, to know lots of different people if I need help in any different areas. But also they've just given me so much support, and I try and give it back as well. It has been the most affirming thing that I've ever done, having people who can let you know if your company are trying to gaslight you, if you are if that thing that your manager said was a microaggression. Having people who get it and understand have been so important for me. And that is my number one thing that I would suggest for everyone else to do. but also don't restrict it to within your company. So yeah, amazing if you can find your tribe within your company, but also maybe you can look outside. Maybe you can look for other networking sites. Again, I have a list that I can share where you can get support from people in the same industry as you. So I'm in a Twitter group with like 50, we're called POC journos. So 50 other, mainly women of color journalists. And it's just been so phenomenal for me. I cannot like overstate how incredible it's been for me to be in that group. Everyone's so supportive, shares so many opportunities, shares so much advice. So that's my absolute number one piece of advice. My second piece of advice is don't ask, don't get. It's one of my favorite phrases, favorite quotes. And basically, what don't ask, don't get means is if you don't never apply for that job, you're never going to get it. If you never ask for a pay rise, you're never going to get it. If you don't ask for what you want or make it clear what you do want, if you don't put yourself out there, it's likely you won't get it. So no matter how many, if you don't think you tick off every box on that job application, then just apply for it anyway. I think there's a stat that's like men will apply if they hit 30% of, I might be making this up, but I'm sure it's like white men will apply if they hit 30%. Women will apply only when they hit 80%. Just apply. The worst they can do is say no, and then you've had a learning experience and you can take it forward. I would also say be open. So I work in branded content, and that is not something that I ever thought that I would do. I thought I would always be an editorial, but I was open, and it led me to Hearst, and I've had 4.5 incredible years at Hearst, and I've made the absolute most of, another tip further down, every single opportunity that I've been given. So be open to things that you might not necessarily have thought about straight away, because they could lead to some amazing opportunities for you. Know your worth as well. Negotiate your pay always. I am a big advocate for talking about money, because I think the only people it hurts us if we don't talk about money. It only helps corporations underpay us. So I'm a big fan of negotiating and knowing your worth. Again, the worst they can do is say no. So I would always suggest shooting a little bit higher than you want, so they meet you in the middle. And that's with pay, that's with freelance commissions, that's with day rates, that's with everything. Absolutely know your worth. But another thing I would say is if they can't come up in money, is there something else that you could get out of it? So there are some amazing smaller publications that genuinely can't afford to pay a lot for your work, but maybe they could look over your CV. Maybe they could introduce you to an editor that they know. There's always something you can kind of gain from that relationship if it's not money. Take advantage of every opportunity. That's something that I've talked about. Really take advantage of everything. If your company has training courses that they will pay for, go on them. If they have internal learning sessions, take them. Hearst is running an influencer network where we basically get lessons on how to be an influencer. I applied for that, and now I'm getting all of these amazing insights that I can take forward, even if I'm not at Hearst anymore. These are things that will stay with you throughout your career. So really take every opportunity. But look after yourself. We were just chatting before the session started about mental health. Your mental health is the most important thing. It's so important. So please, and that's something I think finding your network and community will be able to help you with, but make sure that you are looking after yourself, seeking medical help if you need it. I'm on antidepressants. I have no shame in saying that. But really, you are number one. So it's really important to look after yourself. A union is something I would also suggest that people consider. So for journalism, there's the NUJ. The NUJ stands for National Union of Journalists, and they offer a sliding scale of fees, I believe. But once you get into the industry, joining a union can really help you. My voice is breaking. They've just done a round of redundancies at Hearst, and a union will be able to support you with the legal support that you need to go through redundancy. If you also face any issues, like if you have racism or homophobia in the workplace, a union can offer you advice. So consider joining a union. And on that note, record everything. If you are going through something at work and you don't think it's right, and you do think you're kind of being targeted, make notes of dates and times and what was said so that you have the evidence if you do need to take things further. And then, apologies, might have a sip of water. It's really hard with lipstick on not to get the bottle all over my lips. But the other thing I would say is create your own space, and that's something that we're going to talk about in a little bit. Ask forgiveness, not permission. Another one of my favorite quotes, one that does get me into trouble, but I'm a big fan of being bold where you can afford to be. And I think it's easier, well, it is easier to ask forgiveness rather than permission, but just do it mindfully, just to weigh up the pros and cons, but, you know, just go for it. And so I wanted to just show you a few things of what all that has given me. So what taking advantage of every opportunity and, you know, being open, what it's given me. It's given me award wins, which is incredible. So there are some that are free to enter that I've won, and there are also some that the company will pay for, because it's good press for the company to, you know, see you winning awards. So that's another thing to look out for. Can you put yourself forward for awards? I've built my profile by
the world might be so thing, but I'm still looking for love.
So this video, I hope you can still hear me over the video, but this was when I was virtual dating for Bumble. So again, it was an opportunity for me to build my profile, and, you know, building a brand and being big on social media is something that is relatively important-ish if you want to be a particular kind of journalist. So again, when they looked for volunteers to be in this video, I was like, yeah, I'll do it. It's also led to me being interviewed.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Thank you so much for joining us today on this instalment of The Inclusive Viewpoint.
So here I was being interviewed to talk about diversity and inclusion. And again, just building up that profile led to them wanting to interview me and getting in touch with me. And I actually met them at an award ceremony. So making those connections all over the place is really important. And the other thing it's given me is freelance work. You know, I've built up a great portfolio of work that's been able to support me getting commissions. But also I got to interview Amanda from Selling Sunset for my newsletter. This is another thing where I say, don't ask, don't get. I was like, hello, can I please interview Amanda? And they said, yep, sure. When do you want to do it? And I met her daughters and her dog. So obviously we're best friends, but just, you know, just go for it. And this is another thing, again, I'll talk about when we talk about owning your own kind of space and publication, but just don't ask, don't get.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all well. Thank you.
Okay, enough of my face. So now we are going to talk about creating your own space. So sometimes, and I think there is a big shift happening in media at the moment. I think the dream always used to be a staff role. I'm from Birmingham, so I say staff rather than staff. I think the dream always used to be working at a big publication like Cosmo or Stylist or Vogue. I don't know if that is the dream anymore. It'd be really interesting to hear what you guys think in the chat as well. I think media is changing. And I think once you get into the industry, you understand a lot of what you do as a staff writer. And a lot of what you do when you work in-house is, yes, you get to write, you know, amazing features and profile pieces and meet incredible people, but you also write a lot of SEO-led galleries. So that's where you try and bring your site's pages up in Google, so they're the first result when someone types in best books by Black authors or whatever it might be. Freelancing is a great way to go for some people, and I am aware that it is difficult because the money is not guaranteed, so you do have to weigh up how you feel about that, what's a priority for you. But freelancing, you don't necessarily have to worry about writing those SEO-led features all the time or writing celebrity news to get traffic in the morning. As much as people complain about Kim Kardashian in the comments, they will always click to see her new hairstyle. So you will be spending your mornings writing celebrity news. If you're freelance, you're able to pitch and focus on the pieces that really matter to you. So I've just written a piece coming up in Delish about how my granny a Punjabi granny like force feeds me samosas, but then will say, oh, Izzy, you're putting on weight. And I'm like, well, yeah, because you're force feeding me samosas. I also just wrote an article for Cosmopolitan where I wrote about the best books by South Asian authors for South Asian Heritage Month. So being freelance means you can kind of specialize in what you really want to write about. You can also build relationships with lots of different editors. And that's one thing that's quite important. If you pitch to someone once and they commission you, pitch to them again, build up that relationship, and you'll be front of mind when they need someone for a quick turnaround on a piece, or, you know, maybe need someone to come in and do shift work. If you are going to go freelance, you do need to be proactive and pitch, but you can also sign up to newsletters like Journo Resources newsletter and Sean Mead's newsletter. Again, I hope I can kind of circulate the document I have after this session, but they're fantastic newsletters that round up jobs that you can apply for, also part-time work, copywriting work, people calling out for pitches, and that lands in your inbox weekly, and you can scroll down and just see what's right for you and pitch to them. Find a network and know your worth, we've already talked about, and it's the same if you're freelance. You know, find that network of people, join those Facebook groups that are great for you. Again, when I send this list, there's a big list that you can join. And know your worth. Again, negotiate. So if someone offers you £70 for a pitch and you think it deserves 100, ask for 100, and maybe they'll meet you at 85 or something like that. But don't be scared to negotiate. The worst they can say is no. And then you decide where you want to go from there. Developing your personal brand is something that I've pitched on, but it can be very useful as a freelance journalist to negotiate that niche a little bit, figure out what you want to focus on, whether it's kind of entertainment or women's issues or sport, whatever it might be. You can build up your brand as being known as someone who talks about those things. So you can post about your articles on Twitter or Instagram or build a website, but definitely have that space where people know where to look for all of your work. Negotiate your fee, we've already talked about, and add late fees. So I know an incredible finance expert, she's called Kia, and she is on, you can find her at Pennies to Pounds. You'll be able to find her social media there. She has a great video about how to add your late fee. If a company has not paid you on time, you are completely within your rights to add a late fee on top of that. I think it's £40 plus some calculation that I can't remember off the top of my head, but definitely add your late fee because you have to earn a living from this and you should be paid on time. So that's something about freelancing. It is an option for some people. There definitely are downsides. The money can be unpredictable. You don't necessarily have a team around you. But one thing I would add is that if you are going to go freelance, you probably won't make up all of your money unless you're Caitlin Moran from writing pieces that really resonate with you. You might have to do some branded content. You might have to do some copywriting for a website. I know Laura Capon from Cosmo, and she writes TikTok scripts for beauty brands. So there's other work that's less sexy behind the scenes that will keep you afloat. And then the really amazing personal opinion pieces that you want to write, they're the ones that you can show off. They're the ones, you know, that will win you awards and stuff like that. So it's a balance of the two. But if you want to go for something new, why not start a newsletter? So a newsletter is something that I write. And Mixed Messages was a strategic decision for me because I knew I wanted to write a book. And I had been thinking about the mixed race identity for a couple of years. And I thought, what shall I do? Shall I do it as a series of Instagram lives? Shall I do it as a podcast? Shall I do it as a YouTube series? And I had a mentor, and my mentor said, well, if you want to write a book one day, having a newsletter is a great thing to show publishers who are going to give you a book deal, hey, look, I can write. So that's why I decided on a newsletter. And it's a weekly newsletter that goes out on a Monday. Try to do it at 8 o'clock in the morning on a Monday. And I speak to a different mixed race voice each week. Through that, you know, as I said, I've been able to interview Amanza from Selling Sunset, of course, my highlight. And one day I will get Meghan Markle. But until then, it's been an incredible thing for me to do to build up my profile in this area and to have people know that I can be a go-to voice on mixed race identity. So a newsletter is something that you could consider, and it could be really focused, it could be broader, but newsletters are something that are really gaining traction. You can monetize them. You can set them up for free and then monetize them. So it's an interesting thing to consider. Or maybe you just want to really build up your social media. Maybe you want to be posting reels. Maybe you want to get on Journo Talk, which is journalism TikTok. There are so many other ways to kind of create a space where you are the only one in control. And I think TikTok is a really incredible platform, and it's growing very quickly. I know another journalist called Mina who is on like 70,000 followers on TikTok, and she does videos about like Middle Ages STIs and stuff. Incredible. But there's a real space for growth on there. Or maybe you want to start your own publication. It's a lot of work, and I'm not going to lie, it's a lot of work, but some incredible startup publications are things like Galdem, or if you don't know, Black Ballad, which is an incredible website for and by Black women. Or you have Amalia, which is for Muslim voices, or Aurelia magazine as well, which is for marginalized genders. There are so many incredible startup publications that, again, are really gaining traction. And that's an amazing thing that you might want to look at. I have to mention Burnt Roti as well, which is for South Asian voices. There are lots of talks. Again, if you kind of find those publications and follow the founders on Twitter, there are lots of different talks on what it's like to set up your own publication, how you can do it yourself. So I definitely check that out if it sounds like something that you're interested in. But the only limit to what you can achieve is the fact that there are 24 hours in a day. Of course, your mental health, that comes first. But honestly, dream big, really, really dream big. And you could create something so vital, so necessary that it blows up in a good way. And as if by magic, I added all of these links to this presentation. It's as if I thought about this earlier. So I've listed some networking sites. So POC or BME in journalism is for people from Black, Asian or minority ethnic backgrounds. The Other Box is a fantastic website, and they have a great jobs board as well with a newsletter you can sign up to. Social Fixed is fantastic, and they run like whole day. I'm just wary of the time, so someone shout at me if I'm going over. But Social Fix kind of run whole day sessions on how you can break into media. We Are Black Journos. Make Room is a mentoring scheme. I believe it's run by Kenya Hunt, who is at Grazia magazine, and Student Publication Association if you're in student media. And then, as I mentioned, Journo Resources and Sharmise Williams, their newsletters are invaluable. I get them and I find so much from there. Fashion Monitor has a free newsletter that you can sign up to, and it tells you who's gone where. So you know if you want to pitch to someone. I believe Media Arg has really sadly just recently shut down, but there are so many websites, Twitter feeds, Facebook groups where you can build that community, connect with different people, get advice. No question is too small or stupid. Everyone's in there to help you. And you can really find people who are going to champion you. So what do you do now? I think the things that you should prioritize are having a one-page CV. Get that CV looking good so you can easily send it over to employers. I used a website called like perfectcv.com or something, and I paid £3.50 to be able to download it and then just cancel my subscription afterwards. So get your CV looking good. Have your portfolio looking good as well. And that doesn't have to be a big fancy website. That could be your Instagram feed, or it could be your link tree in your Instagram bio. Basically, when I'm looking for people to commission or when I'm looking to hire someone, I want to see all of their work in one place so I can see what they're about, how they write, if they're the right person for the job, but I just want it in a really quick and easy place. Profile, make sure that you're kind of, if you do want to be on social media, I'm not saying you have to be, but get that looking good. Make sure that, see, I'm in two minds about this, but if you do want to build up a personal brand, then have your name, have your bio very clear. Your Instagram bio is searchable, so make sure that you've got like journalist in there. have a link tree that has your recent work in, you know, link your Instagram to your TikTok, you know, get all of that up to date. However, I'm well aware, and I have many friends who get a lot of abuse and they don't want them, you know, to be completely visible on social media. So that's fine too. It's not the be all and end all. It just depends on if you want to build up that profile or not. I'm not saying social media is the only way to build up that profile, but it's a good option. You know, it's a great option if you are happy to be on there, and you can always go private later. And that's where your union can help as well if you're dealing with really bad stuff, because I do know people deal with like death threats and stuff like that, which is not great. And community, I would say really prioritize finding that networking group or mentoring or whatever it might be. And with mentoring as well, if you want someone to mentor you, just ask them. I would say just be specific. So say my mentor, for example, was called Daisy. So if I was going to approach her, I would have said, "Hi Daisy, hope you're well, love your work, and I really think we share the same values. I wondered if you had mentoring opportunities available. I'd love to be mentored by you for an hour a month for 6 months to focus on how to write a book." So be really specific in what you're asking, but don't wait, just go and ask them and they might say yes. And then how to make your space, look for those opportunities, take everything you can, take every course your work will give you, take every networking opportunity, just take everything and really build up your skill set and your profile. Pitch away. Again, this kind of is the don't ask, don't get situation, but if you don't pitch, you're never going to get commissioned. And it is scary. My pitches were terrible when I started pitching, but you live and you learn, and editors don't remember, you know, the bad ones. And also, you're never too young to pitch, like you're never too inexperienced. You don't even need a byline, but they will want to see how you can write. So maybe you've done something in student media that you can show them, or maybe you've done a blog post. Another thing I should mention here is writing for Medium as well. So Medium is kind of a self-publishing website, but again, you can earn money from it if your posts become popular. But Medium, again, is a great way, if you haven't written before, to get your first piece done. And then that's what you can send an editor when they ask for previous work. Create contacts. You never know who's going to be useful at different stages of your career. Keep a smile on your face, you know, keep good contacts and good connections. Well aware where I'm taking my full 30 minutes here, but I've just got a few more things to say. One piece of advice I got told was, people always say, "Oh, stay in touch." And I always used to wonder, well, how do I stay in touch? I don't know how when I was interning. A good thing to do is maybe if you've published your first article, you could say, "Hi, Josie," for example. Just wanted to send over my first article that's been published in Grazia. Your advice really helped me, and link it back to them. Or working at Look magazine, which is now closed, really gave me the confidence to pitch. So link it back to the person, and that's how you can stay in touch. But yeah, create those contacts. It's a small industry, and we all recommend the people that we think are great to each other. So, you know, having that really proactive attitude, positive, just really getting down to the job, not being afraid to ask questions. Like, we'd rather you ask questions and get it right than do something completely wrong because you were scared. But we will big you up if we think you're great. So definitely keep those contacts, find your people we've spoken about at length, and also just start. Don't wait for any like particular moment, particular age, you know, when, oh, you think you've got enough experience. Just go for it, because you learn on the go. I certainly did. I've made so many mistakes, and I still make mistakes to this day, and everyone does throughout their entire career. So it's really important just to kind of get stuck in. And on that note, I think that is me done. Speaking of building my personal brand, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram. I'm at IzzyMKS. My LinkedIn is / Isabella Silvers. And my TikTok is Isabella Silvers as well. Don't judge my TikTok. I'm just getting started, all right? My influencer training has only just got me there. And if you want to follow Mixed Messages, my newsletter, you can, my link is in all of my bios to subscribe to the newsletter. It's free. And you can follow me on Twitter at Mixed Messages Letter. And then on Instagram, I'm Mixed Messages Newsletter. But yeah, I hope this was helpful. I'm raring to answer any questions that you have. I honestly want to give you all the knowledge that's in my brain. And thank you so much for listening.
Thanks so much, Izzy. I think you wrote a quote just after this.
Do I? Don't ask, don't get. My favorite.
There we go. Love that photo.
And again,
perfect.
that was from an article. And again, you know, they said, does anyone want to be in this article? And I was like, sure, I'll do it. And now I have a headshot. So take every opportunity that you can give.
I completely agree. The same thing when I started out. I'll be sharing my screen, so I'll just take over.
Sure.
Here we go. But yeah, I did the same thing. They wanted interns to be featured in a video, and I used the photos of that video for like, I think 3-4 years. Like that was my headshot, and just like, yeah, I'll just keep that.
I think another good thing as well is if you're just starting out, being able to connect with people. So if you're an aspiring photographer, maybe can you, in order to build up your craft, can you take headshots for aspiring journalists so they have them for their profile? There's always ways that you can connect with people, and as I said, it doesn't always have to be an exchange of money if there's genuinely no money there. I think the problem with working for free comes when it's like, I'm not saying these publications do it, but like Vogue or The Guardian, when you know they have money, if it's smaller startups, there's always something you can gain from that relationship.
Absolutely, that's what we say, and we've been having quite a few masterclasses and guesting, just covering that subject. It's always a matter of balance, and if you don't get what you need from them, well, then that's not paying you enough. And so whether it's the money that you need the money, or whether it's you need an opportunity, you need a byline, you need a bit more variety, you want to change the niche you're in because you feel like you've cornered yourself and you want to write something else. Well, actually, maybe sometimes starting somewhere where you can write for free, they'll just let you do it. And then if you can build a portfolio on that specific area, then and you can afford to live, obviously, that there's totally something to do.
Exactly.
It's about the balance and what you get out of it. Definitely stop working for free if you're not getting what you need anymore. Great. So we didn't get a question, but saying how to stay in, thank you for saying how to stay in touch, because it's actually the thing I struggle the most with. Completely relate to that as well. The awkwardness of, like, you feel a bit cringe, don't you, sometimes?
You feel so cringe, and you know, it's something that I struggle. I wish I could remember who it was that told me how you stay in touch. But I can't remember. But you know, it could just lead to, even if you just say, I really loved work experience with you or interning with you, you know, just saying that and saying, I just wanted to share this new video, because the people who work there are human. Everyone's been an intern before, everyone's been at the bottom of the kind of hierarchy, so we know what it's like. We genuinely are interested to see what people are doing, and I think social media has made that a lot easier as well, because I'll follow a lot of our past interns on social media and see what they're up to. And now one of them is, you know, going for a job at Cosmo, and I was able to recommend her because she'd kept in touch with what she was doing in Bristol. But yeah, I think it is cringe, but you just have to get over the cringe and do it.
There's also something I've learned, which is, if you need, like, I was unemployed for a few months there a few years ago, and I just went back through everyone I worked with and asked them for recommendations on LinkedIn. And I wrote it for them. I was just like, this is basically what I think you could say. Feel free to edit or anything, but this would really help me get a job, considering we worked together for 2 years or something. So I would really say it felt really odd, but after the third one, you're just like, you know what, I'll just keep going.
Another thing from LinkedIn as well is, you know, if you don't be afraid to suggest sessions for your team that are going to benefit you, but also going to benefit the rest of your team as well. And if you phrase it like, this would be great for the team or the company, you can often get your company to pay for or subsidize sessions. Like we had LinkedIn come in and let us know how to really make the most of LinkedIn, because I'm not the best on LinkedIn, but we had someone come in and she explained what to do, how to set up our profile in the best way, features that we weren't using, and that was amazing. So if there's something you really want your company to kind of pay for so you can use it and take it forward when you leave, do it. Why not?
Yeah, I got a design course out of that,
Yeah.
because they needed someone to do it, and I was like, I'll do it. No, that's great. We got a question about where how did you get into journalism?
So I was quite lucky that I knew I wanted to be a journalist from quite a young age. So from kind of like 16, I was doing work experience, I was interning. And this is the thing I said about connections as well. So my friend at school's mum worked for Katie Grand's dad, and Katie Grand is the editor of Love magazine. So I went in that triangle to get her email, and then I got an internship at Love magazine. But mainly it was just applying for everything that I saw online, like websites like Go Think Big, UK Fashion Intern, Fashion Monitor. I would apply for every experience. I was working for free a lot, which isn't great and shouldn't happen now. I did experience at my local magazine. So I went to Style Birmingham magazine, and local magazines are great because you can get more hands-on than in the bigger publications. When I was at university, I worked for Brighton Media. So I went to the University of Sussex, and again, that thing I said about being open, I worked for Brighton Fashion Week, and I went in as a show producer, and I ended up being the online editor for the blog. So taking those opportunities and making those connections, you'll never know where they're going to lead you. But I basically interned forever. And then I saw a friend's status on Facebook, and she said, we're looking for interns for the fashion cupboard at InStyle magazine. So I was like, yes, me please. Even though I didn't want to be a stylist, I was like, get me in. So went in, was really proactive, made a good impression. And it just so happened that at the time their features assistant was leaving, and they said, do you want a trial for the role? And I did a trial, got the job. And that was my first paid time in the industry.
That is so good, because I think that, that thing, that's theory of how many people you have, like anyone in the world is connected.
6 degrees of separation.
Yes, exactly. Like you will find someone who knows someone who knows someone, and if you're clever about it and you end up being in the same room as like 3 connections closer, you're basically are that much closer to finding a connection to your dream job or the person you want to be in touch with.
You have to be really proactive. Like I used to carry around my CV, because Creative Access, I should mention Creative Access. I came through Creative Access, which is an incredible, another incredible platform that offers kind of like, it has a job site, you can apply for jobs on there, but also offers mentoring and networking opportunities. And that's where they really force you to network. And I hate it to this day, but you just have to do it. And I went to one of their monthly talks that they host about careers, which are incredible. Free drinks, free books, free snacks. And I remember someone there was a journalist was talking, and I went up and spoke to them after their talk, and I said, oh, I'm applying for this job at Dazed. And he said, oh, who are you interviewing with? Because I know Zing. And I was like, I'm interviewing with Zing. So I gave him my CV. But I think going into this industry, especially after the pandemic, Hearst has reduced its workforce by 20%. It's really important to really be proactive. And if you need hyping up, like make a Twitter group and have everyone be like, you can do this, but you really just have to put yourself out there. And no one's going to look at you and think you're cringe. Like only you were going to think that. I thought that, but you just have to really go for it.
That's so true. We got asked another question. How did you know what type of journalism you wanted to do, and did you change your mind?
Yes, I did. So when I was really young, like primary school, I wanted to be a fashion designer, and then I realized I was shit at drawing, so that was out the window. And then I kind of realized that I really loved English. I did English language as an A level, and then as my degree, actually, I did linguistics. And I love language. And I thought, okay, well, I want to go into fashion journalism. That's what I wanted to do. You know, the places I was applying for were like Style Birmingham and The Guardian Fashion. I was applying for the Sunday Times Style. I was applying for all of those roles. And then I got into InStyle and I thought, great, this is a fashion magazine. And I wasn't writing loads about fashion. I was doing more kind of lifestyle. As I mentioned, I was doing those roundups. I was writing about vegan beauty because I'm vegan plus, I'm vegan with cheese. I was, you know, writing celebrity news and all that kind of stuff. And it was a combination of actually getting into the industry and being at Creative Access. I really have to credit them for like so much of who I am today, that I realized, wow, I have a platform and I have power and I need to use that to uplift marginalized voices. And that completely shifted my perspective. And I was no longer looking to write just about fashion, but I still love fashion, still do. But it really became my mission in whatever I was writing, which I would say is more lifestyle at this point, is to lift up marginalized voices and their stories. And that's in terms of Black, Asian and minority ethnic people, disabled people, queer community, whatever that might be. That's my number one driving force. And now I'm in branded content. So I write about whatever the clients want me to write about. So I do a lot of entertainment journalism with Now, formerly known as Now TV. I do a lot of like finance, sponsored by brands like Klarna. I'm the go-to sexpert in the team because I know exactly how we have to write about sex toys in order to get like the adverts approved. It's a very tricky thing. But now I'm actually going part-time from September, and I want to write a lot more about identity and heritage and culture. So it's changed a lot and it's still changing. And I think that's something to be open to that. Don't close yourself off, because you might end up in an area, you know, I know beauty journalists who never intended to go into beauty, but they love it. So it's just being open to what opportunities are around you. But yeah, it might change. You know, I know so many people who've become mothers and now they write about parenting. Just got to see how you feel at the time.
Yeah, and that's effectively the point of this masterclass in itself, is like create your own space, like you can grow with it, or it can grow with you rather, and evolve with your interest, and you've got that freedom because you've created your space. No, that's really good advice. Is there anything that is like off limit, any subjects that you really don't either feel comfortable writing about or you really don't want to?
Well, I'm never going to write anything anti-trans. Like, I'm never going to support JK Rowling. I'm never, you know, those, it's really difficult because it's so difficult, this conversation. And basically, I don't want to give a platform to people whose really key core message, I think, criticizes someone else's humanity. I think there's a really big difference in having a difference of opinion and really attacking someone's humanity and right to life and a happy life. And so I never want to write about someone who really disagrees with the values that I find really key. So I would struggle to, you know, write an amazing profile piece on JK Rowling, because I think I think she's saying something really, really harmful to a community who are really in need of our support and protection at the moment. That I would find difficult. I would find it difficult to write for a publication, again, that really disagrees with my values and has really hammered home that they disagree with my values. And that's an individual decision for everyone. If you want to write for those publications, that's absolutely your right. I know a sex expert who writes for those publications because it gets her sex positive and inclusive message in front of people who might not necessarily think that way. I know another person who writes for them because she needs the money because her dog is really sick. Fine. Like, I know another person who writes for them and donates all the money that they get to charity. So it's an individual decision. And I'm fortunate enough at the moment that I have other avenues to kind of get pay from. Again, I'm vegan-ish, vegan plus. So I don't know if I'd write like a great piece on how to cook the perfect steak or something like that. But no, I think there's interest in everything. But yeah, I just don't know if I would do something that I really fundamentally disagree with justice. So, and another thing to say is, you know, I'm not going to write a piece on like, this is what it's like to be queer, because I'm not queer. And I think it's important to pass the mic at times and not gatekeep. So just because you're a staff writer, should you really write an opinion piece on Black Lives Matter? Like, maybe you should from that perspective, or maybe you should be commissioning Black writers for that. So it's very individual. It depends. And it's everyone's personal circumstances, and there's absolutely no judgment from me. Everyone just has to do the best thing for them.
Yeah, that's true. We got a message saying so important to make sure that you're the right person to write stories on marginalized communities. That's very true.
And like, we at Hearst, we have kind of sense checks as well. Like, I commissioned 5 queer writers to write articles on the Now TV and shows and movies that really resonated with them. And as the editor, you know, I would reach out to my queer colleagues to make sure that I was editing sensitively. And I've, you know, I read a lot of queer voices and follow a lot of people, and it's just all about educating yourself and when not to, you're right, like when not to take the mic. But if you have that platform to uplift, then definitely do that. But again, like, just ask questions. You know, we all ask them of each other. So people ask me, oh, is this okay? You know, is it okay to say brown? And I'm like, I say brown. We've had conversations about, do you capitalize the B in Black? And our Black colleagues have advised on that. So I think it's all about knowledge sharing and asking with good intentions. But yeah, 100%. We're trying to be progressive. We're trying to be, but yeah, definitely just being open and passing the mic when you need to.
Yeah, thank you very much, Izzy. I'll just be moving on to the next slide, which is just the second part of the housekeeping. But I think you'll find that quite helpful because you did touch upon that earlier a few times. So first of all, we have a commissioning workshop, which we run every 2 weeks on Tuesday evenings, 7 p.m. It's about an hour, a bit like this masterclass. However, it's a limit to 20 people, and we don't live stream, and we only send a recording afterwards to people who've registered. So if you want feedback on your pitch and the chance to be commissioned, we have a new commissioning editor. So Izzy, if you're interested, you're more than welcome to join us in another session. And it's not that you're commissioned on the spot, but it's to get people to improve their pitch. And it's usually a very good thing if you haven't had any positive feedback on, or any feedback at all on pitches. We recommend that you join because we select 2 to 3 pitches. We close the submission to pitches and the tickets on the Friday before that, so that will be tomorrow actually. So if you want to take part, make sure you get a ticket and you send us your pitch. We also have a weekly Instagram live Q&A. Katie will be joining us this week and talking about imposter syndrome. So just to have her a chat on Instagram live. It's very, very informal, but quite nice as well. Our next masterclass is about career as a freelance journalist and editor in the music industry specifically. And so we'll be using the same format again. This is on Eventbrite, and so you can get your tickets. We also have speed networking, which is also every 2 weeks. So 1 week we've got commissioning workshop, and the other week we've got speed networking, where you can start getting to know people who also want to network and start making connections, even in the time of a pandemic where nobody is still comfortable to meet in person and so on. And lastly, I just wanted to mention that we do run CV clinics as well, free one-on-one with senior journalists, and who can help you craft your CV and make it ready for applications. We can also review applications. You've got half an hour one-on-one with one of our volunteers, and it's absolutely helpful. So I would really encourage you to do that. And the links to that is in our link tree. So feel free to go on that from our Instagram or our Twitter. This is all from me. I'm actually quite sad to be finishing. I just wanted us to carry on talking. But thank you so much, Izzy. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you and to get to know what you had to say about creating your own space. I really encourage everyone to signing up to the newsletter, follow you on social media. Yes, do that now.
Amazing. I'm doing an incredible giveaway for our first anniversary next month. So if you follow me, you'll see when it goes live. It's going to be a good one. Perfect.
Well, just go and do that now. And then we'll be putting this on Facebook on YouTube, sorry, on Facebook very soon. So you'll be able to rewatch it. And if there's any link that you want to add, Izzy will just will add them in the description or send that on to everyone who's registered for tonight and maybe couldn't attend as well. So thanks so much, everyone. And very good packing, Izzy, and have a good evening and good weekend. And to everyone else, have a good weekend, and don't forget to sign up to everything. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.